What's up, guys? Cass here from GiveWave Studios. So, for anyone who's bought the Etsy DIY Rey goggles kit, I have now discontinued the pre-weathered ropes. So you're going to need to do the weathering also, and since it's not a step that I cover in the main tutorial, I made this secondary one so I can kind of go over the steps to get like that nice weathered look on the rope. So one of the first things that I do is I'll grab a little plastic cup. As you can see, I only fill it from like the bottom to that first little divot, you know, like a small little solo cup. It could be anything. You don't really need a lot of paint. Second thing I do is I'll grab my brush and I'll completely saturate it in black paint. All right, so that's nice and soaked up. I'm just gonna dip it in that. All right, so now I have a nice diluted solution of black paint. So now what I'm gonna do is you can do this one of two ways. You can completely soak this in your solution, let it dry, and then tackle it the next day, or you can attach it and then just go over with the brush. If you're scared you're going to get the paint on the edges, I'd suggest maybe doing this solution like 3 or 4 times and then just dipping this into it, soak it up, let it dry for a day, come back to it the next day and then attach it. That way the rope is nice and dry and your glue will make contact. If you're okay with painting and you got some skills and you think that you'll be able to get the paint just on the rope without affecting the surface of the lens, then by all means go ahead. So what I'm gonna do today is actually attach the rope first and then I'm gonna paint it. So I'm gonna skip over to once this is done and then I'll show you guys how to apply the paint. All right, so I've got my cord on, and remember, make sure to always make it so that the spot where the 2 ends connect is gonna kind of end behind one of your tabs. That way you hide the seam from the front completely. All right, so moving on. So still with my little mixture, right, I'm just going to lightly go over. So as I'm going over it, you really only are trying to highlight the kind of like net of the rope, right? So you see how I'm highlighting and only the net is showing up? That's how much paint you should be putting on it, and then you just kind of go back in with your finger and just rub it into place. So we're just gonna keep doing that for the remainder. I try to put more paint on the inside crease and then less as I go on the outside. Another technique is, if you're unsure if you have too much paint on your brush or not, what you can do is once you've dipped your brush in the paint, start from the back first and be like, okay, I have too much paint, and just keep painting the back, and once you feel like it's light enough, you can like turn it over and start putting it in the front instead, because no one's gonna see what you have going on in the back. So you can kind of like drain the brush a little bit and then bring it back to the front. All right, so I'm just gonna accelerate through this process and then get you guys to the final result. So one thing that you shouldn't worry too much about if you feel like it's oh my god, it's too dark, like don't worry about that too much, because what's going to happen is the cotton is going to absorb a lot of this color in the paint. So once this is actually fully dry, it's going to become a lot lighter than it looks right now. So you might end up having to do this process 2, 3, maybe 4 more times, depending on the amount of weathering that you'd like to see in the goggle overall. All right, but that is pretty much the gist of it. Just kind of like continue to do this throughout until everything just kind of more or less looks the same. And again, there's a lot of these places that you're gonna have to go back in, really make sure that the water gets soaked up in there so that it gets absorbed. So that's pretty much it for this, guys. Again, you're gonna have to wait till this dries, see if you like it. If it looks good, you could just continue with the rest of the first tutorial. If not, you can just repeat the process until you find that you found a nice level of weathering that you're satisfied with. All right. Hope this helped. Catch you guys on the next one. Cheers.